What if one of the world's cutest animals is also one of its toughest survivors? Hidden high in the eucalyptus forests of Australia, koalas battle extreme heat, droughts, predators, and devastating wildfires every single year. In this part, you'll discover the secret world above the trees, where koalas live, how they survive impossible conditions, and the incredible adaptations that keep them alive in one of Earth's harshest environments. The secret life of koalas. Deep in the eucalyptus forests of Australia, an animal sleeps high above the ground while the world moves beneath it. At first glance, koalas look peaceful, soft, and almost toy-like. Their fluffy ears, round noses, and sleepy eyes have made them one of the most recognizable animals on Earth. But behind that calm appearance hides one of the strangest survival stories in the animal kingdom. Most people call them koala bears, but koalas are not bears at all. They are marsupials, mammals that carry their babies inside a pouch, just like kangaroos and wombats. Scientists believe koalas separated from other marsupials millions of years ago and evolved into highly specialized tree-dwelling animals. Today, they are perfectly adapted to a life spent almost entirely among eucalyptus branches. Koalas live mainly along the eastern and southeastern parts of Australia, including regions of Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia. Their homes are eucalyptus forests, where hundreds of tree species grow. Yet koalas are surprisingly picky eaters. Out of more than 700 species of eucalyptus trees, they regularly eat only around 50, and they strongly prefer fewer than 10. Some koalas will even refuse leaves from trees that grow only a few kilometers away from their home territory. What makes this so incredible is that eucalyptus leaves are poisonous. The leaves contain toxic chemicals that would kill or seriously harm most animals. They are also extremely low in nutrients and difficult to digest. Yet koalas survive almost entirely on this dangerous food. Inside their digestive system is a long specialized intestine filled with bacteria that break down the toxins. Their liver also helps neutralize harmful chemicals. Even with these adaptations, the process uses enormous amounts of energy. That is one reason koalas sleep so much. A wild koala can sleep between 18 and 20 hours every day. To humans, this may look lazy, but for koalas it is a survival strategy. Since eucalyptus leaves provide so little energy, koalas conserve as much power as possible. During the hottest hours of the day, they press their bodies against cooler tree trunks to avoid overheating. Researchers discovered that certain trees can act like natural air conditioners, helping koalas survive the intense Australian heat. Despite their cute appearance, koalas can also be surprisingly powerful. Adult males may weigh over 30 pounds and have sharp claws designed for climbing and fighting. During mating season, males produce deep growling bellows that sound more like giant wild animals than sleepy tree dwellers. These sounds can travel long distances through the forest at night. Many people hearing a koala for the first time cannot believe such loud noises come from such a peaceful-looking animal. Koalas are mostly solitary animals. Each one usually has its own territory and favorite trees. They communicate through scent markings, sounds, and body posture. Males have scent glands on their chest and rub them against tree trunks to mark their area. Other koalas passing by can smell these markings and understand who controls that part of the forest. Baby koalas, called joeys, begin life in an extraordinary way. At birth, a joey is tiny, about the size of a jellybean. Blind and hairless, it crawls into its mother's pouch completely on its own. There it stays for around 6 months, growing and developing before finally emerging into the outside world. One of the strangest moments in a young koala's life happens when it starts switching from milk to eucalyptus leaves. Because the leaves are toxic, the baby must first receive special bacteria from its mother's digestive system. Without these bacteria, the joey would not be able to survive on eucalyptus at all. Koalas face many dangers in the modern world. Habitat destruction has removed huge areas of eucalyptus forest. Roads, dogs, droughts, and devastating bushfires also threaten wild populations. In some areas, climate change is making eucalyptus leaves less nutritious, creating even more challenges for survival. Yet despite all these difficulties, koalas continue to fascinate scientists and animal lovers around the world. They are living examples of how evolution can create creatures perfectly adapted to an unusual environment. Every part of a koala's body, from its claws to its digestive system, tells a story of survival in one of the harshest ecological niches on Earth. And this is only the beginning of the koala's story. In the next part, we will explore the forests they call home, how they survive extreme Australian weather, and the hidden world high above the eucalyptus trees. Where koalas live and how they survive. Across the eastern side of Australia stretches a world of silver-green forests where koalas spend nearly their entire lives above the ground. Hidden among twisting eucalyptus branches, these animals survive in an environment that can change from cool and rainy to dangerously hot and dry within weeks. Their survival depends not only on the trees around them, but also on an extraordinary ability to adapt to some of the harshest conditions in the Australian wilderness. Koalas live mainly in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and parts of South Australia. These regions contain vast eucalyptus forests and woodlands that provide both food and shelter. Unlike many animals that move across large areas searching for different resources, koalas are deeply connected to specific trees. A healthy eucalyptus forest is more than a habitat to a koala, it is an entire world. But not all forests are suitable. Koalas choose habitats carefully based on tree species, climate, water availability, and temperature. Some forests contain leaves with too many toxins, while others may not provide enough moisture. Scientists have discovered that koalas can identify subtle chemical differences between eucalyptus leaves, selecting trees that give them the best balance of nutrients and hydration. In cooler southern regions, koalas are often larger and fluffier. Their thicker fur helps them survive colder winters and rainy weather. Northern koalas living in warmer climates tend to be smaller with lighter fur, which helps release body heat more efficiently. This difference between northern and southern populations shows how closely koalas are shaped by their environment. A koala's territory usually includes several favorite trees used for feeding, resting, and escaping danger. Male koalas often control larger territories than females and defend them using deep vocal sounds and scent markings. Each tree inside a territory can play a different role. Some provide cooler temperatures during heat waves, while others offer the freshest leaves during dry seasons. Koalas are among the best tree climbers in the marsupial world. Their bodies are perfectly designed for life in the canopy. Powerful arms and legs help them grip rough bark, while their sharp curved claws act almost like climbing hooks. Koalas also have rough textured pads on their paws that improve grip strength. Their hands are especially unusual because they have two opposable thumbs, allowing them to hold branches with remarkable precision. Watching a koala move through trees can be surprising. Although they spend much of the day sleeping, they are capable climbers and can travel quickly when necessary. They carefully test branches before shifting their weight and often leap between nearby limbs with impressive balance. When they descend to the ground to move between trees, they become far more vulnerable. On the ground, koalas are slower and exposed to predators, vehicles, and domestic dogs. Many koalas avoid descending unless absolutely necessary. In fragmented habitats where forests have been broken apart by roads or urban development, koalas are forced to travel across dangerous open spaces much more often. One of the greatest challenges koalas face today is extreme heat. Australia regularly experiences powerful heat waves, and climate change is making these events longer and more intense. Since koalas cannot sweat effectively like humans, overheating can quickly become deadly. To survive, koalas have developed fascinating cooling strategies. Researchers discovered that during hot weather, Koalas hug the trunks of large eucalyptus trees. The lower parts of these trunks can remain significantly cooler than the surrounding air. By pressing their bodies tightly against the bark, koalas transfer excess heat away from themselves. This natural cooling method may help them survive temperatures that would otherwise be fatal. Koalas also become less active during extreme heat. They reduce movement, avoid unnecessary climbing, and spend more time resting in shaded areas high in the canopy. Some trees provide better protection than others, and experienced koalas appear to remember which trees stay coolest during the hottest parts of the year. Drought creates another major problem. Although koalas receive much of their moisture from eucalyptus leaves, long dry periods reduce the water content inside the foliage. Leaves also become tougher and less nutritious during droughts. Weak and dehydrated koalas may eventually descend from trees searching for water, putting them in even greater danger. In recent years, images of thirsty koalas approaching humans for water during heat waves shocked people around the world. Scientists believe these events are becoming more common because rising temperatures are changing the balance of Australia's ecosystems. Despite their peaceful appearance, koalas still face natural predators. Large birds of prey such as eagles may attack young joeys, while pythons can sometimes threaten smaller koalas. Dingoes occasionally prey on koalas that travel on the ground. However, modern dangers created by humans are now far more serious than most natural predators. Bushfires are among the greatest threats of all. Because koalas move slowly and depend on trees for safety, massive wildfires can devastate entire populations. During severe fire seasons, huge areas of eucalyptus forest may disappear within days. Surviving koalas often suffer burns, dehydration, and starvation after their habitats are destroyed. Habitat fragmentation is another growing crisis. Expanding cities, agriculture, and roads continue to divide forests into isolated patches. Koalas trapped in small areas may struggle to find mates, fresh food sources, or safe migration routes. Over time, isolated populations can become weaker and less genetically diverse. Yet even in this difficult environment, koalas continue to survive through extraordinary adaptation. Their ability to climb, conserve energy, regulate heat, and navigate complex forest ecosystems has allowed them to endure for millions of years. High above the Australian forests, hidden among the eucalyptus leaves, these quiet animals continue their ancient struggle for survival. One branch, one tree, and one night at a time. What koalas eat and why their diet is so dangerous. High in the eucalyptus forests of Australia, koalas spend most of their lives eating something that would poison many other animals within hours. Every night, as darkness spreads across the forest canopy, these quiet marsupials slowly climb through the branches searching for leaves that contain a deadly mix of toxic chemicals. Yet somehow, koalas survive on this dangerous diet almost exclusively. Their relationship with eucalyptus is one of the most extraordinary examples of adaptation in the animal kingdom. At first glance, eucalyptus leaves may not seem unusual. They are narrow, waxy, and filled with strong aromatic oils that create the familiar scent of Australian forests. But hidden inside these leaves are powerful chemical defenses designed to stop animals from eating them. Over millions of years, eucalyptus trees evolved toxic compounds to protect themselves from insects and herbivores. For most animals, these leaves are nearly impossible to eat safely. The oils inside eucalyptus leaves contain substances called phenols and terpenes, which can damage organs, interfere with digestion, and poison the nervous system. In addition, eucalyptus leaves are extremely low in nutrients and protein. Even worse, the tough fibers are difficult to break down and provide very little energy. This creates a strange paradox. Koalas depend completely on a food source that is both poisonous and nutritionally weak. To survive, they evolved one of the most specialized digestive systems on Earth. Inside a koala's body is a long digestive tract designed specifically to process eucalyptus toxins. One of the most important organs is the cecum, a large pouch connected to the intestines. In koalas, the cecum can reach over 6 feet in length, making it one of the largest relative to body size among mammals. Inside this chamber live billions of bacteria specially adapted to break down eucalyptus fibers and neutralize toxins. Without these microscopic organisms, koalas could not survive. The bacteria slowly ferment the leaves, extracting tiny amounts of nutrients that the koala's body can absorb. This process is incredibly slow. A single meal may remain inside a koala's digestive system for days while the toxins are processed and the nutrients extracted. Because the food provides so little energy, koalas must conserve power whenever possible. That is why they sleep for up to 20 hours a day. Even their brains reflect this energy-saving lifestyle. Compared to many mammals, koalas have relatively small brains. Scientists believe this may reduce energy requirements, helping them survive on their low-calorie diet. Everything about a koala's biology is focused on surviving with the least amount of energy possible. But not all eucalyptus leaves are equal. Koalas are surprisingly selective eaters. Out of hundreds of eucalyptus species found in Australia, most koalas regularly eat only a small number. Even within the same forest, they may reject certain trees completely while feeding heavily from others nearby. Researchers discovered that koalas can detect subtle chemical differences between leaves. Some leaves contain fewer toxins, more moisture, or slightly higher nutrient levels. Koalas use their powerful sense of smell to identify the safest and most nutritious options. A koala may spend hours carefully sniffing branches before deciding which leaves to eat. Weather conditions also affect leaf chemistry. During droughts and heat waves, eucalyptus leaves can lose moisture and increase toxin concentrations. This makes survival even harder. In some regions, climate change is already reducing the nutritional quality of eucalyptus forests, placing extra stress on wild koala populations. Although koalas receive much of their hydration from leaves, water still plays an important role in their survival. The word koala is often said to come from an Aboriginal term meaning no water, because early observers rarely saw koalas drinking. For many years, scientists believed koalas received nearly all necessary moisture directly from eucalyptus leaves. But recent studies have changed that understanding. During extreme heat or drought, koalas will descend from trees searching for water sources. Some have even approached humans during severe Australian heat waves, drinking from bottles and containers placed by wildlife rescuers. These moments revealed how vulnerable koalas can become when their environment changes too quickly. Hydration affects nearly every part of a koala's survival. Dehydrated leaves provide less moisture, forcing koalas to use more energy searching for better food sources. Weak or dehydrated koalas may become sick more easily and struggle to survive long periods of extreme weather. Baby koalas face an even greater challenge. When a joey is born, it has no ability to digest eucalyptus at all. Inside its mother's pouch, it survives entirely on milk during its first months of life. But eventually, the young koala must transition to the toxic leaves that will sustain it forever. This change involves one of the strangest feeding behaviors in the mammal world. Before a joey begins eating eucalyptus leaves, it consumes a soft substance produced by its mother called pap. Pap is a partially digested form of eucalyptus containing the essential bacteria needed for digestion. By eating pap, the baby transfers these microorganisms into its own digestive system. Without this bacterial transfer, the young koala would not be able to survive on eucalyptus. Over time, the joey begins tasting leaves while riding on its mother's back through the forest canopy. It slowly learns which trees are safe, which leaves are nutritious, and how to survive in the complex eucalyptus ecosystem. Every bite a koala takes is part of a delicate balance between poison and survival. Their entire existence depends on mastering one of nature's most dangerous diets, a diet so toxic and low in energy that few other mammals on Earth could endure it. Yet through millions of years of evolution, koalas transformed this deadly food source into a way of life unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. Different types of koalas and their evolution. Today, koalas seem so unique that they almost look like animals from another world. With their thick fur, powerful claws, and sleepy expressions, they appear perfectly designed for life high in the eucalyptus forests of Australia. But the koalas living in Australia today are only the latest survivors of a much older evolutionary story, one that began millions of years ago when ancient marsupials slowly adapted to a life among the trees. Modern koalas may all look similar at first glance, but scientists recognize important differences between populations living in northern and southern Australia. These differences developed because koalas evolved under very different climates and environmental conditions across the continent. Southern koalas, found mainly in Victoria and parts of South Australia, are usually much larger and fluffier than their northern relatives. Some southern males can weigh over 30 pounds and have thick wool-like fur that protects them during cold winters and rainy seasons. Their darker, denser coats help trap body heat, allowing them to survive in cooler forests. Northern koalas, living in Queensland and warmer regions of New South Wales, are generally smaller and lighter in colour. Their thinner fur allows excess heat to escape more easily in hot tropical and subtropical climates. In some northern forests, temperatures can become dangerously high during summer, so having a smaller body helps reduce overheating. These differences are examples of how evolution shapes animals according to their environment. Larger animals tend to survive better in cold climates because bigger bodies retain heat more efficiently. Smaller animals lose heat faster, which becomes useful in warmer regions. Over countless generations, koala populations slowly adapted to local weather patterns, food quality, and forest conditions. Their noses also reveal fascinating adaptations. Koalas have one of the strongest senses of smell among marsupials. Their large black noses are filled with specialized receptors that help them detect chemical differences between eucalyptus leaves. This ability is essential because choosing the wrong leaves could expose them to dangerous toxin levels or poor nutrition. Even their fur varies depending on climate. Southern koalas often appear almost silver gray or dark brown in cooler weather, while northern koalas may have shorter, lighter coats with a more reddish tone. These small details help scientists understand how different populations evolved separately over long periods of time. But the story of koalas stretches much further back than modern Australia. The ancestors of koalas appeared millions of years ago when Australia's ecosystems looked very different from today. Ancient forests once covered huge parts of the continent, creating environments where early marsupials diversified into many strange forms. Scientists believe koalas evolved from ancient wombat-like ancestors. Although koalas now live almost entirely in trees while wombats live on the ground, both animals share important skeletal and genetic similarities. Long ago, one evolutionary branch adapted to climbing and feeding on leaves, eventually becoming the first primitive koalas. Fossils reveal that ancient koalas were far more diverse than the single species alive today. Some prehistoric koalas were much larger than modern ones. One extinct relative, sometimes called the giant koala, may have weighed over 150 pounds. These massive marsupials likely moved slowly through ancient forests feeding on vegetation. Other extinct species had different skull shapes and dental structures, suggesting they may have eaten different kinds of plants than modern koalas. Over millions of years, changing climates transformed Australia. Rainforests slowly retreated while dry eucalyptus woodlands expanded across the continent. Koalas that could survive on eucalyptus gained a major advantage because few other animals could safely eat these toxic leaves. Natural selection favored individuals with better detoxification systems, stronger climbing abilities, and more efficient energy conservation. Eventually, koalas became highly specialized eucalyptus experts. But this specialization came with risks. Animals that adapt too closely to one food source become vulnerable when their environment changes. Since koalas depend heavily on eucalyptus forests, habitat destruction and climate change threaten them more severely than animals with flexible diets. Their bodies reveal countless adaptations for tree life. Koalas possess strong muscular limbs designed for gripping rough bark. Their sharp claws curve inward like climbing hooks, helping them cling securely to branches even during storms or strong winds. Each front paw has two opposable digits working almost like human thumbs, giving koalas extraordinary control while climbing. Their feet are equally specialized. Rough pads provide extra friction, while powerful leg muscles allow them to climb vertically with surprising speed. Even their spine and posture help distribute weight while resting in trees for long periods. Koalas also have unusually thick cartilage at the end of their spine, effectively creating a natural cushion for sitting on hard branches all day. Their eyesight is adapted for navigating forests, but smell and hearing are often even more important. Koalas rely heavily on scent to locate food and identify other koalas. During mating season, males produce deep low-frequency bellows that travel long distances through dense forest habitats. One of the most remarkable evolutionary adaptations is their energy conservation system. Because eucalyptus leaves provide so little nutrition, koalas evolved to minimize unnecessary movement. Their slow lifestyle, long sleeping periods, and reduced activity are not signs of laziness. They are advanced survival strategies shaped by millions of years of evolution. Every aspect of a koala's body tells the story of adaptation. From their specialized digestive bacteria to their climbing claws and heat-resistant fur, koalas are living examples of how evolution can transform ordinary ancestors into creatures perfectly suited for a difficult ecological niche. Yet despite surviving for millions of years, koalas now face challenges evolving species have never encountered before. Rapid habitat destruction, extreme climate shifts, urban expansion, and modern environmental pressures happening faster than natural adaptation can keep pace. The ancient survivors of Australia's forests are now entering one of the most uncertain chapters in their evolutionary history. Baby koalas and family life. High above the eucalyptus forests of Australia, hidden among branches and leaves, one of the smallest newborn mammals on Earth begins an extraordinary journey. Before a baby koala ever climbs a tree or tastes its first eucalyptus leaf, it must survive a fragile early life almost entirely dependent on its mother. The story of a koala begins in an astonishing way. A newborn koala, called a joey, is incredibly tiny at birth, only about 2 centimeters long and weighing less than a gram. It is blind, hairless, and barely developed, looking more like a pink jellybean than the fluffy animal it will eventually become. Yet despite its fragile condition, the joey performs one of the most remarkable journeys in the marsupial world. Immediately after birth, the tiny newborn must crawl completely on its own through its mother's fur toward her pouch. Without help, guided mainly by instinct and smell, the joey slowly climbs into the warm pouch located on the mother's belly. Inside, it attaches itself to one of 2 milk-producing teats and remains there safely protected while continuing its development. The pouch becomes the joey's entire world for months. Inside this warm environment, the baby grows rapidly. Its tiny limbs strengthen, fur begins to appear, and its ears and eyes slowly develop. During this stage, the joey is completely dependent on its mother for food, warmth, and protection. Koala milk changes composition as the joey grows. Early milk contains nutrients designed for rapid development, while later milk becomes richer in fats and energy to prepare the growing joey for life outside the pouch. Scientists consider marsupial milk among the most biologically specialized forms of nourishment in the animal kingdom. Around 6 months after birth, the joey finally begins peeking outside the pouch. At first, only its small fluffy head becomes visible as it observes the forest world for the first time. Gradually, it spends longer periods outside while still returning to the pouch for safety and feeding. During this stage, the relationship between mother and baby becomes incredibly important. Koalas are generally solitary animals, but mothers form strong bonds with their young. Communication happens through soft clicking sounds, gentle body contact, scent recognition, and subtle vocal calls. A mother koala can identify her joey through smell and sound alone. The joey also learns by constantly observing its mother. Every movement through the trees becomes a lesson in survival. The baby watches how its mother selects leaves, climbs branches, rests safely, and reacts to danger. These early experiences are essential because one day the joey must survive entirely on its own in the complex eucalyptus forests. One of the strangest and most important moments in a young koala's development involves food. Although adult koalas survive on toxic eucalyptus leaves, newborn joeys cannot digest them at all. Their digestive systems lack the specialized bacteria needed to process the toxins. Before transitioning to leaves, the joey must receive these essential microorganisms from its mother. To accomplish this, the mother produces a special soft substance called pap. Pap is partially digested eucalyptus material rich in the bacteria necessary for breaking down toxic leaves. The joey consumes this substance before beginning its eucalyptus diet. While this behavior may seem unusual, it is absolutely critical for survival. Without the transfer of these bacteria, the young koala would be unable to digest eucalyptus safely. Soon after, the joey begins nibbling small amounts of leaves while riding on its mother's back through the trees. This marks the beginning of climbing lessons. Young koalas spend many months learning how to move safely through the forest canopy. At first, their movements are clumsy and uncertain. Tiny claws struggle to grip bark securely, and balancing on narrow branches requires practice. Falling from trees can be dangerous, so the mother carefully guides and protects her joey during this vulnerable stage. As the joey grows stronger, it becomes more adventurous. It climbs farther from its mother, experiments with different branches, and slowly develops the muscular strength needed for adult life. Its claws sharpen, coordination improves, and confidence increases with every climb. During this learning period, the mother provides constant protection from threats such as predators, extreme weather, and aggressive adult koalas. She also teaches the joey which trees provide the safest resting places and the best eucalyptus leaves. By around 1 year old, the young koala begins spending more time alone. This stage of independence is difficult. The juvenile koala must establish its own territory, locate safe feeding trees, and avoid conflicts with older koalas. Young males especially may travel long distances searching for suitable habitat. Many young koalas do not survive this transition. Roads, habitat fragmentation, domestic dogs, droughts, and bushfires create enormous dangers for inexperienced juveniles moving across unfamiliar areas. In the modern world, independence has become far more dangerous than it once was. Yet those that survive eventually become part of the next generation of Australia's forests. Years later, a mature female koala may carry her own joey inside her pouch, repeating an ancient cycle that has continued for millions of years. From the tiniest newborn hidden inside its mother's pouch to a fully independent tree-climbing adult, every koala carries within it the survival knowledge passed down through countless generations. Their quiet family lives, hidden high among the eucalyptus branches, remain one of the most extraordinary stories in the animal kingdom.